These kind of service providers quite often tunnel your traffic through their own servers, so it's not visible to your internet service providers like Airtel or Bharti Jio. And a lot of these VPN service providers also say that they do not maintain any logs of the kind of websites you access, the videos you play, the applications you interact with. So it's a direct interaction between you and the website. What are the type of these logs? Maybe with regard to your activity online. And UnCERT-IN can demand these logs on any cybersecurity incident and then by itself provide them. More than VPNs, I would like to say that certain zero knowledge systems exist which are used by activists, journalists, human rights defenders in India, which does not store logs of what are the kind of messages you send, when do you send them, with whom do you talk. It is also another service which is used for web browsing anonymously. So all of these services will be tremendously impacted. Certain regulations which have been issued, they have been issued under Section 70B of the Information Technology Act. It's a kind of delegated legislation which allows UnCERT-IN to actually make directions in order to advance cybersecurity. Now, on its face, it seems very reasonable. There are a large number of data breaches. However, a much more credible way to address these issues is to bring in a data protection law where less data is gathered from people for the services they are provided. Data is deleted after those services are provided to people, and also audits are done, and a regulatory body such as the Data Protection Authority is established. ICT systems should, for a period of 180 days, store and create logs within Indian jurisdiction, which means basically India, and they should provide it, and I'm quoting, to UnCERT-IN along with reporting of any incident or an order or directed by UnCERT-IN. What becomes also important is that not only do we not have a data protection law, as per press reports which have emerged in the past 10 days to 1 week, UnCERT-IN is also within a larger ambit of exemption from the Right to Information Act. So there will be no transparency when it seeks this kind of log and information from a VPN provider or any ICT system provider. And because there's no data protection authority, this information which is gathered by UnCERT-IN, if it is shared with third parties, with the ministry or with, let's say, Ministry of Home Affairs, policing bodies, intelligence bodies, that is not open for question because there's no system in place itself. Lack of transparency, lack of accountability, lack of oversight. And this makes it very worrying. One other thing I'd like to point out to people is that for cloud and VPN service providers, there's also Direction 5, which requires that for all users for a period of 5 years or longer, as may be mandated by law, there needs to be a mandatory registration, somewhat like a KYC, know your customer, for every user. This is a very invasive form which when matched with the logs will essentially say this is the person and this is what they're using the internet for. And UnCERT-IN now has the power of asking all that information from your service providers. It essentially is a surveillance. In the Justice Puttaswamy judgment, in the opinion authored by Justice Chandrachud, he laid down how certain activities by governments may be permissible within the fundamental right to privacy if it is done lawfully, proportionally, and has safeguards. One of the safeguards indicated was a data protection law. It's still not been done by the government of India. And also what's very, very troubling in this regulation has been a high amount of ambiguity within its phrases. This becomes relevant because if a service provider does not comply with it, arguably they can face a criminal case for non-compliance of directions under Section 70B, which carry imprisonment of up to a period of 1 year and a fine. By itself, there's vagueness. There's a high amount of data gathering, increase in power, absence of safeguards. On multiple grounds, I would say that these regulations are legally suspect and can be constitutionally, their constitutional bias can be challenged.